their man having a problem with their supervisor. That supervisor takes it to Craycraft. Craycraft then takes it to HR, or does it come to me since I'm over the street department? When do I get it, or does it go to HR then to me? I mean, I'm a liaison, that don't mean
If
this.
someone brings you a problem, it needs to go right back to HR.
Well, that's what I mean, but how does it go? Mike's got a employee's pissed off at Sturgeon didn't handle it right, that employee then jumps up to Craycraft. Mike, the employee says, Mike's not handling it, I don't like it, where does it go then?
It goes to the clerk.
To who?
The clerk.
Okay.
She's over Craycraft, doesn't it?
HR first and clerk.
It would depend on what the complaint is. If it's an HR issue, it would come to me. If it's something that's not getting done work-wise, it would go to Jennifer.
So, so again, verbiage semantics, and you guys are a little more familiar with this, but when you say liaison, if we're liaison, that puts us into it some way, shape, or form. Should that not be there? Should it just be that it's our duty as a,
It doesn't.
and if I'm getting in the weeds, tell me.
Those kind of issues, I think, are management issues. You're
That's
not-
what I agree.
Liaison is not management. Liaison is
Exactly.
reporting, go back to the.
So that's why I'm saying, is liaison a problem? It makes it seem like it is my duty and responsibility, like you're sticking me in there and you're making me do something that I really shouldn't be doing. If there's an issue, I don't need to be a liaison, I don't need to have that written, I just need to know, as a council member, if it's a HR, I'm just gonna go and say you and, or whatever, but I think liaison makes it seem like,
Well, and I think to Councilman Alvar's suggestion and yours as well, it would probably be good for, I would suggest that the board's motion be to bring back the organizational chart, the liaison definitions, and that for review at the next meeting.
yes,
And
I
then
agree.
to use that to give some direction to the attorney's
We
office.
can do that. We can do that, but with regard to the liaison, the code already provides that they're not in a supervisory role, so.
I mean, it's my understanding that those are in place for the function of the council, so the council doesn't have to be looking, like Councilman Alvar said, we're a small community, it's a small board, we've all got other stuff going on. So those kind of issues, if they're noticed, get brought back, so the board can talk about those things. It's for the board's uses, not for the departments.
So I,
Necessarily, is that?
so I would agree, I don't believe that there's anything here that we disagree with. It just needs to just be very, very clear and maybe broken up because, you know, I really don't want to stick my finger in somebody else's Kool-Aid, and I think that's what you're talking about. But, you know, if there's a crack in the glass that the Kool-Aid is in, I don't want to drink out of it. But, so I want to know what do I do? You know, who am I supposed to go and talk to and say, hey, I need a new glass for my Kool-Aid because it's cracked, without being somebody better fix this.
And I think that's what, so this is again just to direct me to draft up the ordinance, and then there would be a first reading and a second reading. If there's issues that council has at the first reading that would like change, then I can change those and it would come before, for another reading. So I really don't understand what other information is being requested at this time.
Give us your first draft and we'll tell you.
Really, I mean, it's okay if it's not perfect when you bring it, but I'm sure whatever you're gonna give us the first time is gonna be a little more clear than what we have right now.
Okay. So what is the pleasure on the board on this item?
Well, I can move, we instruct Leo to move forward with this. And do the whole chamber and stuff and all we just talked about.
Do I have a second on that motion from Councilman Spear? Second from Councilman Flanges. Further discussion?
Only discussion I would like to add, if you got something on the agenda, we've got a clerk, we've got an attorney, get all the backup. Because once again, I feel, I'll go right back to the very first thing. 4 councilmen, the guy that wrote it, didn't even have the code of conduct in his presence. There's 47 words in it. I mean, Ed harped and harped about don't do that, Mr. Attorney, till we all see the changes. See the changes. He didn't even prepare for this.
Well, it's my understanding that this was published last week and the code, the city code is available to anyone.
Wasn't in the packet.
When did they get it? Am I the only one doing the homework? You didn't tell him to put it in the agenda. The clerk never said it. So where's the shortfall on running our business? That's my big problem here.
Is there other discussion on this item? Hearing seeing none, I have a motion and a second. All in favor? Any opposed? It's 4-1. We'll move on to item 5, Councilman Alworth, discussion of possible action, review of city police chief and city engineer's recommendations in regard to the traffic study on possible future removal of yield or stop signs at the following locations: Murray Street and First Avenue, Murray Street and Third Avenue, Murray Street and Annand Avenue, and possible direction that a public hearing be held prior to council's final action for removal of said signs. So leave the reports from the police chief and the engineer in your packet there. Councilman Alworth.
Thank you, Mayor, Councilman. You have my report. I hope you had the opportunity to look through it. Is there any questions? I just did have the one recommendation, and that's due to the possible more traffic being in that area when the Boys and Girls Club, they acquired that building. I'm not sure how they're looking at dropping off children in that area in their parking situations, and so that we kind of pertinent to me to keep that stop sign there just to regulate the flow of
And when you
traffic.
say that stop sign, you're talking about the one on First and Murray, but it stops the traffic on Murray. Okay. I don't know the date of the plan.
I don't know if BJ had anything to add, or what your thoughts were.
Well, I'd make my comments on this, you know what I'm gonna say. I think once the school goes in place, you know, traffic control wise, school crossings ahead, painted crosswalk, or people can put that in there. Eliminate the stop sign, you know, I mean, it's a school, flashing lights, whatever we need to do there. One thing, Sheriff, 732 vehicles reported traveling over the posted speed limit. I think you need to get a cop out there.
Well,
I mean, that's your own numbers, chief.
they are, but they're not in excessive. So, I mean, we actually look at a 5-mile-an-hour variance. If they're within that 5 mile an hour, we don't call it excessive, because unfortunately, everybody's speedometer is not calibrated. Just the way it is. As soon as you change your tires, you should actually go get your speedometer calibrated, especially if you're oversizing or undersizing. So we always look at that 5 mile an hour variance. So those 700 cars really were speeding, but not to the excessive for that. And I don't know if acquiring the building for the Boys and Girls Club would actually classify that as a school. So I'm not sure if that, or if it classifies it as a day.
We do so, just in regards of like our, like schools in Reno, we got the crosswalks, we got flashing lights, we got the 15-mile-per-hour speed limit, so that's just like
That'd be
standard for
something that
us.
The city would have to acquire if this went through to make that an actual school zone.
Well,
Yes.
as BJ routinely notes, the MUTCD does request or recommend that yield stop signs not be used as a means of traffic or speed control,
Yeah, I'm not worried about the speed control, I'm actually working about,
just logistics.
yeah, I've never seen like their master plan. I know I was here when they talked about the renovation of the building, and one of the things that they haven't worked out yet was your parking. So I didn't know how employees would be parking and exiting the parkway. I didn't know what kind of drop-off you're looking at as far as your children being dropped off at the facility and your pickup. Those are always our concerns, and if we just have free flow traffic coming through there, those could be issues that I have definite
I don't
concern
know if
about
that's
for
been
children's
designed yet.
safety.
But as someone who went to kindergarten there and there wasn't a stop
Right.
sign, I didn't know.
So you know the playground area, that would be more like employee parking, so the idea is the other side will turn into our main entrance for drop-off and pickup.
So you're looking at drop off or pickup on Mill Street.
Exactly, yeah, exactly. Yeah, and that's, of course, things could change, but that's the game plan right now, is that being that.
Gotcha.
And
So, you know, go
I'd
ahead.
also like to agree with Jim, that flashing light is just so important, because, you know, we look at the signs and people blow by the signs, but that flashing light really
Yeah.
catches everyone's attention too.
Well, the flashing lights, and then, you know, if he goes to a school zone, you're gonna be looking at, you know, school zones are rated by footage, so you're gonna be looking at where that school zone starts and where that school zone stops. And is it gonna be on Hill and Murray? Because of the way that things are going, and so that gives us a little less concern, because of the 15-mile-per-hour speed zone that now goes into effect. But those are my concerns that I had when I went up, I walked to school, looked around, checked out all the stop signs and stuff, and that is the only stop sign that gave me merit of concern, just because of your guys' future plans. I just want to make sure your children are the safest possible when we're picking up, dropping off, when they're playing. I'm not sure where your playground's gonna be when they're outside running around and stuff. I want to make sure that people are doing.
And as soon as we break ground and get closer to that, you know, timeline, and I'm sure we'll have all that to you guys, but where we're gonna put the signs, where we're gonna put the flashing signs.
Some of that will be part of the building permit approval process.
You're right.
For the impact, so EJ will be involved.
But, you know, one other thing to add, in the last 3 years, there's never been an accident in that vicinity, so.
What's the pleasure of the board on this?
Thank you.
I make a recommendation to go with the city engineer's recommendation
For a move, stop sign.
for the new stop sign.
And just clarification that the action has to be that the public hearing be held, and then
Okay.
after the public hearing, we can have that.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
So a motion to move that to a public hearing with that application. Do I have a second to that? Second from Councilwoman Zarber. Any further discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Carried so ordered. Item 6, Councilman Howard, discussion of possible action direct city clerk to mail notifications to businesses on Great Basin Highway that have frontages in need of beautification, such as weed removal, watering grass. Businesses were granted leniency last summer due to the construction process. Councilman Howard.
I believe Jennifer put a draft letter out there, it looks good. It's, the one business up there, Zero Landscaping, looks fine. The other one, you know, Love's is an eyesore all the way coming to town. People coming to town, we're looking at, that in the town not looking good. The Reed businesses, they're really nice. Across from McDonald's, that Mexican food restaurant, they're the one, Zero Landscaping. We need to get people to make the place look good. That's bottom line. I think we have ordinances on it. Hopefully they'll do it, a lot more push. But a push. And as we move on, it mentioned there's problems downtown too, you know, so we just need to start somewhere. Got a brand new highway, brand new curb and gutter, sidewalks, bike lanes, lights. Let's start there.
Are there any questions for Councilman Owens on this item or comments on the draft letter?
I move we approve it.
Motion from Councilman Spear, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Carson, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried so ordered. Item 7, council members, city treasurer Trask, discussion for possible action approval of collective bargaining agreement between the City of Lee Fire Department and Operating Engineers Local 3, July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Yeah, in the general bargaining unit, it was a 3-year contract put in place last year with the only option to open that for discussion on wages. And we came to an agreement on 3%.
I think we're on item 7.
We're on item 7, fire department.
Oh, the fire, excuse me. I wrote that. That one I'm gonna defer most of that to Pat, other than wages were also negotiated a 3% increase.
Fire Chief Stork?
Yeah, go ahead.
Make sure you get close to your microphone there.
How well it's working.
A little better.
Try that.
What other questions?
Okay, we can hear you better. Thanks, Pat.
Hey Pat, this is Jim. I really trust your due diligence on this. I'm just wondering, how's the group feel about the 4896 work schedule? And again, I did read page for page, so is there a test period on this? You know, we're gonna do it for so many years or months or whatever?
There is, so right now, initially, this is gonna go into place for 1 year. Both sides, the city and the union, have the option to go revert back to the 4-shift crew. They were actually, we kind of pitched this to them early, and then they brought it back to us when negotiations opened, just due to our staffing issues, trying to get personnel and be able to fully staff. So we're gonna put it in play for a 1 year, basically trial, and if it's good, we can continue. Either side has the option to go back if so.
Okay, I think it's a good idea. A question to the treasurer. What's the savings monetarily wise for either side, or the plus for the paid men, plus for the city?
The plus for the paid men is this will increase, because they're increasing their yearly hours worked for their base pay that goes against their retirement. So the retirement wages will go up. Their hourly rates stay the same, they're just working more hours, so that's the benefit to them. The benefit to the city, obviously, is we can't get it up to staff for 8. So this will help with that, and it's also going to help with lowering overtime, and there's the savings of the benefit, not having to pay the benefits for the other 2 employees that we have in the past.
Okay, and I see they added Christmas Eve as another holiday.
Well, we had already added that last year to our personnel policy. They just forgot to add it last year, so they threw it in.
We'll probably have one more next year, I suspect.
I suspect
A
so.
couple of questions I had on this, that Councilman Warren has done. There's the, under C on, what the heck is it? I don't have a page on this. Article 28, moving the leave bank up from 240 hours to 336. That is,
That's due to the fact that they're going to be working longer shifts now. They're going to be working 48 hours, so when they have to take time off, they're going to have to use more leave to take time off.
in the past, it was 50%. Oh, if they left some behind, now it's 100%.
Oh, the payout.
It's 100% a year, and if you take a 15-year plus thing, he's getting.
Well, they're limited on what they can carry on their.
Correct, but if they
Yeah.
don't use it, it says here you pay them at 100%.
Yes, if they do, but what it is, and Pat, you can jump in, as it was pointed out,
Yeah, what it is, and once they're, so like right now, they work 2,202 hours a year. This new schedule, they're gonna be working 2,912 hours a year. There's about 700 plus hours a year more they're having to work. So we kind of just based it straight off of what the way it is now, and we looked at a lot of the other union contracts in order to keep it fair. And they're having to work more hours, they need a little more vacation time to, you know, be able to still have some time off.
yeah, he's talking about the payout going to 100% instead of 50%.
Oh, well, the benefit to that is, so if they don't use their vacation time, say they come down to the end of the year, and we can buy it out at 100% the pay rate, versus if you force them to take that vacation, and now we're gonna be paying somebody time and a half to come in and work that shift for them. So we're saving half time. If this payout is if, say, they come to the end of their yearly thing and they gotta be down to their 240 hours and they're over it by 48 hours. It's cheaper for the city to pay them out 40 hours of straight time than it is for us to force them to take vacation and then backfill that shift at time and a half.
I understand that, Pat, and
Does that make sense?
I'm not criticizing the think back that because I know how hard it is to hire and retain firemen, but the second reason I brought that up is because on the next page, we've taken the over 15-year employee 12 hours per paid period, which is 312 hours a week, a year, which is almost 30, what is that? 6 weeks, almost 6 weeks of pay. I can divide that out very real quick.
I don't really have a difficult time hearing you.
Okay, it's 39, actually 39 days, so what I can see is that any employee, and I don't think we have a whole lot, of 15, this is going to be very, very expensive because we're giving them 12 hours per pay period to accrue as personal leave, annual leave, whatever you want to call it. Then at the end of the year, that means you're going to take a month off every year, just over and above what this is.
That's what he's saying, I think, and I'm struggling a little bit to understand this completely too, Pat, is that they have a certain amount they can accrue for paid time off and carry over. Anything above that, they have the option to have bought out or use at the end of the year?
Well, no,
Is that
the
right?
thing is they gotta use it before the end of their annual.
Or they lose it?
No, they get it bought out.
So they get bought out. In this new contract, they get bought
Yes.
out.
Before it was at 50%.
50%.
They all get bought out.
I got you.
It's a lot of money.
But it's less money than
And
having to pay
And
somebody.
regardless, you gotta think of it, it's gonna cost the city the same amount of money if you're only gonna offer them at a half the price. I know for myself and speaking to all the other guys, if you're only gonna pay me 50% of what I got on the books, I'm gonna take the days off and get paid 100%. And then you're gonna turn around and you're gonna have to pay somebody overtime, time and a half to work that shift.
I understand that it just took a big jump. I just was looking at it, it can be a whole, this can be a whole
It
mess.
took me a while to
Budget.
get my head wrapped around.
When they start taking, especially older employees at 100% buyout and getting over
This isn't about the buy-in at the end, like their entire,
every year.
This isn't
This
about
isn't
the
about-
retirement, this is on a yearly
this
basis.
is just their overages that are.
Every year, they get anything that's over above
Yeah.
that 336 hours, we pay it out at 100%. So that's a pretty good paycheck if the guy that wants to go take that time off, especially a 15-year-old.
You already see what they're getting now with the overtime.
Is it going to be, you think it will reduce that overtime?
Yes,
Overall, it reduces the
But-
city.
overall it reduces. We can get up to staff, which right now, if we change it to this, we're only down one position.
Well, I'm
Yeah, no, I'm just
agreeing with
trying to
that.
explain it, so yes, once we get up to full staff, that should do, there's built-in overtime in this schedule, because they're now gonna go to hourly, they won't be salaried, they're gonna be strictly hourly, and there is a built-in overtime for them, but it's still less than what we're doing now.
Well, I hope they can hire some more firemen, that's what
Well,
I can hope.
like I said, if we go
This
with
will
this
help it then,
schedule,
okay.
I'm down on.
Are there any other questions on the side or anything you'd like to add, Fire Chief? Hearing none, ask for a motion.
I'll move to approve this.
Motion from Councilman Spear, do I have a second? Second from Councilman Flannery. Any further discussion?
I just got a question, if I,
Yeah.
past member, I'm not associated with the career department, I don't mind voting on this, I think I vote in benefit for the citizens, but I was a past member, worked closely with the paid crew, so that's my disclosure, but I feel like we vote because it's for the betterment of the community.
So noted, anything else? We have motion and second. Call for the vote, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried so ordered. Item 8, council member, city treasurer tracks discussion for possible action, approval of 3% wage increase for employees in the city of Ely collective bargaining unit effective July 1st, 2022, pursuant to the cost of living adjustment wage rate change provision in Exhibit A, wage scale of the current agreement between the city of Ely and operating engineers local 3.
I have a question, I had 3 questions on, this is for all the city employees other than the fire department. So how many employees are eligible for this, and how many are paying members, paying due members?
They're all eligible because all the hourly positions with the city, other than the fire department, fall within this contract. They're all considered union positions. So they're all
powerful
I've
union.
had people ask why we don't get rid of it. It's not our option. If they want to get rid of it, they have to do it themselves, the employees.
I thought you had to have over 50% of voting members though to,
I don't know,
take
I've
advantage of
been
that.
basically told that we don't have an option to get rid of it, but Leo, if you,
I would need time to look into that.
I thought it was 50% of the paid members, but.
I don't think we've ever, since I've worked at the city, had 50% participation.
So with that being said, I see that the city controls what the pay increase will be, which leads to my next question. You know, reading your notes on the last year's paper that was handed out, and correct it was the right one. Where is the cost of living wage adjustment provision? Where is that document? Because last year, you stated it was 5%. This year, everything's higher than it was. Now it's 3%.
No, what we did was offer them, they always want to look at that, which is over 7% at this time, but they were willing to take 3%. It wasn't locked in that we had to do that percentage. They just want us to look at that to consider what we want to offer, what we can afford to offer. So we came in with the 3% and they thought that was reasonable and they all accepted it.
So that cost of living wage adjustment rate change provision, just a bunch of blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, they requested that. And
I was gonna ask, where's that at? Because,
it's
You know.
on a government site, I have to go over.
if that was gonna be a thing, so they wanted, so what was that amount on the government side?
It was, I think when we looked at it, it was like 7.1 or 2% cost of living.
That's for last year, though, right? The new one comes out in October, it'll be guaranteed over rate. So this is a pretty good deal.
I don't think them two, I don't say nothing. But they get 3%. I mean, county's really generous, they must have a lot more money than us. But I think,
If you'd like to offer more, I'm sure you'd take it. I didn't budget for it, I budgeted for 3%.
okay, that's my question. Thank
Any
you.
other questions? Is there a motion? Is there no question?
I'll move to approve.
Motion from Councilman Price, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second from Councilman Hall. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried so ordered. Item 9, no, item 8, public comment. Please state your name for the record, we'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, on state projects on Avenue D, 14th and Avenue D, 15th and Avenue D, no ADA compliance. That's a new project. Mr. Mayor, on your agenda item 74, there was nothing in the packet for the public to look at as you were discussing. Open meeting law says you have to be specific and you can't go off of what's on there, but you apparently keep doing that. Mr. Mayor, I have a concern in regards to the Hope cleanup and the selective enforcement. For years, I've told you that Mr. Flangus has a problem. He hasn't addressed attractive nuisance, broken windows, property unfenced, and that was today that I took those pictures. Within the 2 blocks, you have another home, or a couple of homes, just up the street here. You folks have not addressed that. You're selectively enforcing the law, and that needs to stop. Here's a home on Ogden. This is recent. I took pictures last year, I reported it. You guys have done nothing. You went after Native American, and that's wrong. Here's another picture on North Street. Trash in the streets, unlicensed vehicles, and you're going after a poor guy who's out of sight, out of mind. That's wrong. I want to file a complaint against whoever is in charge of